First, in the name of the Honourable Carmel Sepuloni.
Mr. Speaker, to the Prime Minister, does he stand by all of his government's statements and actions?
Yes, and especially the very strong actions the government has taken to ensure that we're focused on improving the lives of New Zealanders by rebuilding the economy. And particularly with news out this morning that the previous government's economic mismanagement saw the economy shrink in 3 of the past 4 quarters. 3 of the past 4 quarters. And in particular, I stand by our action to stop the significant risk posed to taxpayers by cost escalations on Kiwi Rail's ferry project. Also our action to focus the Reserve Bank on fighting inflation, which has caused pain and suffering to all New Zealanders. Of course, our action to actually change the speed limit rules to allow New Zealanders to get to where they need to, go faster and safer. I have to tell you, this is a government that is elected with a mandate for change and is unashamed and unflinching focus on cleaning up the mess left by that member's government to get our country back on track and realise all the great potential that sits in this country.
Mr. Speaker, does he stand by his government's decision to suspend regulatory impact statements for proposals in his 100-day plan? And does he feel that suspending advice on the impact of his decisions is based on data and evidence?
We are very comfortable in suspending regulatory impact statements because we don't think they'll add value for decisions that we're repealing legislation.
Mr. Speaker, does he agree with the National Party leader, Christopher Luxon, that, quote, "I can tell you we're going to be straight with the New Zealand people, tell it as it is, the good, the bad and the ugly," end quote? If so, what's changed?
Very much. We're going to be very straight up with the New Zealand people. And what they have heard today is that that was a previous government that led 3 of the last 4 quarters declining economic growth. What they've heard today, and we've been straight up with the New Zealand people about, is a $15 billion New Zealand upgrade project with an Auditor General's report that says it was appallingly managed. Appallingly managed. And what you're going to see is a government that is very focused on making sure taxpayers are not treated like bottomless ATM machines, that we get returned for their money.
Mr. Speaker, did he suspend regulatory impact statements before or after the regulatory impact statement for repealing fair pay agreements was leaked?
We are determined to make sure through repealing the Fair Pay Awards legislation that we can actually make it easier for people to hire workers, not harder.
Point of order, I think I know what's coming.
Yeah, would you want to do it?
I think you could do a bit better with the answer, Prime Minister, on that one.
It was before.
Beg pardon?
It was before.
And Mr. Speaker, does he stand by his government's decision to repeal fair pay agreements, the Reserve Bank dual mandate and the clean card discount under urgency with no select committee process or regulatory impact statement? Or does he agree with Chris Bishop that, quote, "this is a disgraceful way to make important law," end quote?
And answer the first leg of the question, yes.
Mr. Speaker, has he suspended receiving regulatory impact statements because A, he doesn't like what they say, B, because he's going to ignore them anyway, C, because he knows they'll leak, or D, all of the above?
We went to an election, we had a campaign, we made very clear what we were going to do, and we're going to do it.
Order. Supplementary, the Honourable Grant Robertson.
Supplementary. In light of that answer, can we now expect that because of the election result, no pieces of legislation will be referred to a select committee?
No, we want proper process. A proper process. No. Listen, hear the answer. The answer is when we went to the election with very good clarity about the policies we're going to repeal, and the dumb legislation from the previous government that we're repealing, we're going to move forward with great speed so that we can actually get this country moving forward. But what I just say, I think it is ironic on a day when we've had economic news where 3 of the last quarters under the previous government we had negative economic growth, at a time when inflation has been out of the band for the last over 21 months, when we've seen wages not keeping pace with inflation. We haven't had a single economic question from the opposition. A single economic question from the opposition.
Supplementary, right on Winston Peters.
Can I ask the Prime Minister, has the government just learnt, with respect to Kirwell, that the lack of impact that the impact statement had on the previous government?
No, that was, look, I'll tell you what, these sort of questions aren't very helpful to the order of the House. They might be enormously entertaining for a number of people, but they're not helpful for the order of the House, and that's 2 days in a row. So can you sort of keep it down to genuine questions? Well, there must be a lot of genuine questions you could ask the government. Could I call on the Honourable Phil Twyford?
Supplementary. Does the government now support the immediate humanitarian ceasefire it voted for at the United Nations General Assembly yesterday, or does it still believe there are a list of preconditions that must be met before calling for a ceasefire?
I think our position is very clear. We want to cease to hostilities, as you've seen in the parliamentary statement, as you've seen from the joint Prime Minister statements for Australia, New Zealand and Canada, and as you've seen for our support for the General Assembly resolution.